So today we're going to be starting a brand new series where we rank all the weapons via their respective damage type. And for today, we're going to go over all of the lightning-based weapons. Now, the reason we're starting off with lightning is because it does have the least amount. There are only 7 weapons, or 8 if you actually include the shields as well. And the funny thing is, 3 of them only get lightning damage when you actually use the weapon skill. So for the most part, there's like barely any. Hopefully the DLC does actually have more for us. They probably will. And hopefully some of them actually might have a faith scaling. Who knows? Because none of these actually do have faith scaling, which is unfortunate, but is what it is. But yeah, let's get into it. Starting off at number 7, we have the Dragon Great Claw, and you might as well throw in the Dragon Claw Shield as well because it is equally as useless. Now, I already did talk about the Dragon Great Claw in my previous video. 10 weapons actually do need to get buffed, so I'm not going to really go into too much detail, but both of these obviously split lightning damage, and they just don't get any unique weapon skill whatsoever. Dragon Great Claw gets Endure, and Dragon Claw Shield gets Shield Bash. Don't know why they don't get anything cool or unique when you actually literally acquired off the Draconic Tree Sentinel, and that boss actually does get a bunch of really cool lightning attacks, and they didn't care to add a single one of those things onto either of these weapons. Very unfortunate. Yes, you can do more damage against dragons, which I guess is its only redeeming factor, but yeah, the Dragon Great Claw is a colossal weapon with a pretty poor moveset, and it's very slow as well. So yeah, it's gonna have to get the bottom. At number 6, we have the Stormhawk Axe. Now, this weapon, I actually would like to put it a bit higher on the list. Unfortunately, its weapon skill, Thunderstorm, does just get directly outclassed by Stormcaller, which is an Asher Warrior that you can equip onto other weapons. And if you put it onto things like Great Axes and Halberds and stuff like that, you can just do way more damage than you ever would with this weapon. And it actually consumes less FP. And also, Stormcaller does more stance damage. So there's not much of a point to the Stormhawk Axe. It does actually boost your weapon with 120 lightning damage, which is the only way to actually get lightning onto this weapon. Hence why it actually makes it onto the list still. But it only lasts 40 seconds. And 120 lightning damage is still not that great because if you look at weapons like the Dragon Halberd and the Dragon Scale Blade, which we'll get into, they actually boosted by 160 lightning damage for 45 seconds, which is just longer. And it adds Frost as well. So there's a bunch of this like average mediocre stuff going around this weapon, so it definitely is deserving of a buff, but I can't really get anything higher than this. At number 5, we have the Veteran's Prosthesis. Now, this is a fist-based weapon, and fist-based weapons actually tend to be pretty nice in terms of DPS and movesets. This one in particular does actually have the most range out of all the fists, and it gets that slash and piercing type damage, so therefore their running attacks are actually some nice poking attacks, which is really cool. Unfortunately, though, the weapon skill does actually leave a lot to be desired. I did actually talk about this weapon as well on my 10 weapons that do need to get buffed video. This one was also mentioned. But its weapon skill does decent damage, only consumes 10 FP. But the first part about it with that little AoE kick that you do get doesn't really do much damage. It only serves as an obstacle to actually get to the good part of the weapon skill itself. But overall, it still is a decent weapon. At number 4, we have the Dragon Scale Blade. Now, this is going to be a katana that unfortunately doesn't actually get lightning damage or a passive status effect until after you use its weapon skill, which is Ice Lightning Storm, which for 25 FP, you do this slam down animation that is very similar to Lightning Slash Ashavor, and for 45 seconds afterwards, you do get bonus lightning damage, 160 and 80 frost buildup as well, which is pretty decent. This weapon actually does also bonus damage to dragon type enemies as well. It is a pretty solid weapon overall. Unfortunately, you can only get that passive status effect after you use the buff, which all the other katanas, they get passive status effects without a weapon skill and without the buff itself. And I feel like that this weapon is actually directly outclassed by something like the Dragon Halberd, which we'll get into, but overall it still is a pretty solid type of weapon. At number 3, we have the Dragon Halberd. Now, it's very similar to the Dragon Scale Blade in that you have to use its weapon skill to actually gain the lightning damage and the frost buildup. And the reason as to why I like this one better is because multiple reasons. One is light attack combo, which is nothing but poking attacks, really nice piercing damage, and you get this cool horizontal spin to win for its heavy attack. And its Ashavor Spinning Slash, which pretty much like another reskinned version of that, only costs 17 FP, so if you actually wanted to buff, it's just going to be cheaper. And you can do the entire combo for 28 FP. That absolutely just melts enemies, and it actually does really good stance damage as well, which compared to the Dragon Scale Blade doesn't really do those things. So yeah, due to its moveset and its really high damaging weapon skill, I'm just going to prefer the Dragon Blade, and it is deserving of an S tier. At number 2, we have the Dragon King's Cragblade. Now, this one and the Dragon Halberd, I was kind of tossing up as to which one I did prefer at number 2. Obviously, ended up going with the Dragon King's Cragblade because the Dragon Halberd weapon skill is a little bit more situational due to that frost, the fact that it actually has short range with its AoE, and they don't really get much hyper armor. And it is a long animation, so against certain types of enemies, you're not going to really get the entire combo off. But with the Dragon King's Cragblade Ashavor Thundercloud form for also 28 FP, you can just fully charge it, get infinite hyper armor, and go a long distance as well, which is really nice. And it does insane poise damage. It gets about 70 poise and stance damage, which is just ridiculous. Now, I do wish that the weapon skill actually did work with things like the Godfrey's Icon and Millicent Prosthesis, but unfortunately Doesn't really work that way, but it is a heavy thrusting sword, so it gets an amazing moveset. Actually does more damage to dragons, once again. Actually does more damage against dragons compared to the Dragon Halberd. But yeah, overall, it's an amazing weapon. Good moveset, really high damaging skill, gets good hyper armor, and insane poise damage. At number 1, we have the Bolt of Gransax. Now, probably to nobody's surprise as to why this one gets number 1, because it's a cheese machine. You can sit at the back of the map and then snipe enemies before they even get close to you, because it does damage as well. But this is going to be a spear, which piercing damage, poking attacks, obviously amazing. Does actually get the second most range out of all the spears as well, and actually also does that bonus damage to dragons. But its weapon skill, Ancient Lightning Spear for 25 FP, just does insane damage because you can fully charge it paired alongside the Godfrey's icon, goes incredibly far, and travels very quickly to the point where it just cheeses everything. All the bosses, if you just keep running backwards, keep fully charging it, you're not going to miss because it travels that fast. So yeah, definitely going to be one of the best weapons in the entire game, and definitely the best lightning weapon. Anyway, that pretty much concludes that. Let me know down in the comments what your opinions are. The next video is going to be ranking all of the holy-based weapons, so do subscribe for that, and do follow me on Twitch as well, because I do runs and challenge runs every single day, actually using all of these weapons. So if you actually want to know my opinions on these weapons beforehand, I actually do recommend following me there. But yeah, see you next one, guys. Bye.